right, so let's get started. Okay, welcome everybody. This is the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission. To all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable's Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission ordinance under Chapter 112, Article 3 of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, you are hereby notified that a hearing is being held at Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. Selectmen's Conference Room, second floor, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. This meeting of September 18th, 2024 is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire as to whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. If you could please silence your cell phones, put them on vibrate, whatever. I will call the meeting to order. Commissioner Perry Wentworth is not here, at least at the moment. Commissioner Conrad Watson.
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Matthews.
Here.
Commissioner Cornelius Carley.
Here.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham.
Here.
Commissioner Matthew Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Laura Cronin.
Here.
Commissioner Jack Kay.
Here.
Commissioner Tom Doherty. And I, Cheryl Powell, am also here. Welcome, everybody. I would like to also welcome our Town Council liaison, Town Councilor Bloom. Thank you for joining us again tonight. Could I please invite staff to introduce themselves?
Ina, Admin Assistant, Planning and Development.
Good evening, Jim Kupfer, Director of Planning.
Okay, so that being said, nothing on trainings at this time. Awards, correspondence, there's no separate correspondence, right? I didn't think so. Just to remind everyone, conflict of interest, contact Cynthia Lovell if you if you think that you might have expired on your conflict of interest trainings. So tonight it's really just the design guidelines update. And before we even start, I want to thank staff for all the incredibly hard work that has gone into this. And also to the commissioners who have been involved on trying to put this together to put before the whole commission. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to let Jim take it away because you're really, put a lot of this together, and you'll know, more what the changes are and everything else. There's no more recent update, right? I've got everything. Okay.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. So everyone has before them the most up-to-date version of the Downtown Hyannis Unified Design Regulations and Guidelines as proposed. What we have discussed in the past month to 2 months is revising the recently adopted version by the planning board. The working group has offered comments, and that working group has offered those comments through track changes that you'll see in this document. Since that time, we brought it forward to this commission. The commission members have each had an opportunity to weigh in. I did have a number of additional comments that I then incorporated into the ongoing draft changes. So everything that you see here this evening in draft form and in the track changes are updates since the planning board has adopted theirs. So it's the planning board's adopted version plus the proposed changes as shown in track changes. I will note Ms. Cronin had requested some additional images that we are working on. I have requested from our communications team some updated images, and they agreed to go kind of up and down Hyannis and get some really nice images for us to add in here. So that's still an ongoing initiative, but otherwise in text form, happy to take any additional suggestions for this evening.
Something that we had discussed when we had met as the smaller group was on page 6, possibly adding some flower boxes as an option and/or Juliet balconies as possibilities. Are we able to add that?
I think, with the working group, we discussed adding it in text form below, and so that's where you see there in red.
Oh, got it. Okay. So go to the next page. Okay. Excellent.
Are we going to go over this page? Just with people questions or
page by page?
It's up to you guys. I'm happy to go through it page by page, but, the commission has had it for, a couple months now, so my thought was any additional suggestions that anyone has, we can go over it. Otherwise, the whole, the next step is our joint meeting that will be this coming Monday with the planning board. But I know at the last meeting, we wanted to leave at least an opportunity for this group to have another discussion before the planning board meeting.
One thing that was brought up in the smaller groups is on page 11, expanding the historic district. And my concern and a couple other people's concern was like really going from North Street up to the circle near the airport. How do we do that? How is this something we have to bring to the town council? Do we have to vote on it as a group, or?
Yep. Yeah. So it would be it's kind of multi-tiered. So as this group and the district is adopted through Mass General Law 40C, there would be a review and approval by the Massachusetts Historical Commission, but ultimately from a local jurisdiction, yes, it would be a proposal from the commission to the town council, and it would be a modification of the ordinance, which would be a map change and the ordinance change to reflect increased district.
At the end of that meeting, what we did is we teamed up, and we're going to look at the various historical areas outside. I think you and Jack teamed up. Is that right? And then it was Steve Costello and myself. Oh, you have it. Okay. So to try to get those to Jim, and I've got to get my list to you, Jim. I've done that now. Has Steve given you any yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay, I'm sure he will. And then that would be to justification or an argument towards justifying that extension. That was the thought behind it.
I was confused on the process, so I will do that. Okay, I know I had Willow Street. Who had other areas? Do you remember?
Steve and I were going to have Main Street going down along by the hospital down towards where it intersects and goes off to Yarmouth, going that way. And then we were going to also have I didn't know the name of it, the street the last street that, behind the hospital, behind Mugar, that's that street there, the historical street, and going up to West Main near Bradford's. We have those.
Okay.
And you have, I think, further out, if I remember correctly.
Was there?
I had Camp Street.
You had
Camp Street, okay. And I think you also had, if I remember correctly, the other side of South Street. Is that, Jim, did you write those down?
So I'm happy to coordinate that if we want to
That's fine.
kind of refresh that. That's perfectly
That's
fine.
fine.
I can send out an email seeing who wants to look at what. Really, the objective for everybody else, the objective here, I think there was a discussion about opportunities to expand the historic district. The question there then is, what historic architectural features do we want to preserve with the district? So kind of doing a quick survey of, what properties would maybe be, historically significant that we would expand this district for. So there was volunteers to look at the different areas, but I'm happy to coordinate that.
And we also agreed that this meeting with the planning board, the joint meeting, is really just to get this particular part, and then we're going to continue to meet quarterly and update further things after that, because this will need tweaking anyway, whatever's agreed, things will come up.
Where would were you proposing to expand it on South Street? South Street's
No,
already
I'm
there.
sorry, North Street up to the traffic circle.
Oh, North Street.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jim, if you could just give for everybody watching a little background as to the impetus behind the extension of the jurisdiction zone.
Sure. Yeah. This was just a discussion from a couple of the commissioners asking, if there was an ability to extend that historic district. And so I had mentioned I would look into what that process would look like. So that I don't know if anybody wants to speak to the impetus to it, but it was brought up by some of the commissioners as to, what the process would look like and if it's feasible.
But just for clarification for the record, there's been no formal vote from this commission on this.
Oh, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, no action has been taken. And from what Ms. Powell mentioned, I mean, I think the group determined that that was kind of a secondary discussion. You know, these guidelines are priority one, and then, you know, other actions could be taken later.
Further down the road.
Just another quick question. Would this be the entire area or just designated portions of the area that we deem to be historic?
So it would ultimately be up to the commission what they want to propose. It could be potentially the entire area as shown here, or it could be specific areas. But again, really, you need that justification as to, you know, why or what you would be protecting through that historic district.
I think the question came up as to what is historic. Now, on the Jack knows on the BHC, the Barnstable Historical Commission, it's 75 years or older. So try to come up with something that's consistent with the historical entities. And since the HHDC was formed, because the BHC was formed first, but since the HHDC was formed, you know, that was 1996. There are numerous other properties that have now become what might well be deemed historical, so to try to protect them as well. But, you know, that's something that may or may not happen. That's just a look-see on what's a possibility here and how do we want to do that. That's not part of Monday's meeting, though.
Okay.
If I can go backward, are you okay with page 11 on your answer to your question?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. The, back to page 9, I wrote down some of the comments that we made. We wanted to include more, I think the exact quote was "more lights, the better." Is that just a comment, or did we want that in there? It was mentioned by the people. Want to just leave that?
Where is
And
that
what
page?
section?
Page 9.
Page
At the smaller meeting, we had said, you know, to make it clear, the more lights, the better, when we were
The old
talking about
page 9
lights.
or the new page 9?
That's where I wrote it on page 9.
Are you talking lighting?
We might have come back to that page and put it on the review.
Oh, it's the same, the first 9 are the same.
I think it was made in response to the picture that's there. The more lights, the better. We might want to bring it up under another section on lighting.
Lights on the businesses or lights on the street, or what
I
do
think the comment was made, I can't remember who
Doesn't
made
it
it.
say somewhere in here not to use a lot of lights for the neighborhoods, something like that? I read that.
What's lighting? Where is lighting?
Why don't we
Wanna
wait
go
till
by
we
the-
get down to that
Let's wait till
section?
we
Yeah,
get to that section, yeah.
We got to go.
I don't know why I wrote it there. It's probably because we went back to it, because we went back and forth. All righty.
On page 12, I had suggested that, because I got confused when I saw the numbering here, that this was just the items for the historic ordinance, but it's not. So I had asked if Jim could clarify that below, please find a portion of the ordinance defining the purpose and jurisdiction. So all the other parts of the ordinance remained intact. These were the only ones that were being modified and changed.
Those we also had in the original one that was put in and has already been approved by the planning board.
And to be clear, nothing is being changed in the purpose and jurisdiction. It's
Correct.
just the request was to insert them in
Yeah.
these so that when an application comes forward, both the applicant and the commission members can refer back to it in one place.
That's why I made that request in the original one, because what happened was we had two different purviews going on, one with the planning board and one with ours, and we wanted to make it clear, you know, that we're kind of on the same page. What do we got here? Planning board. You got that all in there? Thank you for including the part on page 13.
On 15, I had asked if we could consider having the administrative reviews happen, which is fine because they're within the original or within the ordinances or the guidelines, and they can be, done through the chair or their designate. And I was asking if we could include those just as a note on the minutes to review, were there any approvals, administrative approvals done in the town that you had approved of that, just so we know. So if we see something going on, we say, oh, that was an administrative review. No wonder, that's why they didn't go before us. I thought it might be, I didn't know if you guys thought the same thing.
Makes
If it would be
sense.
helpful to have that
I think that would be
when
good.
they
Yeah,
occur.
I think that's good. Can I go back to 14, though, at the very end? Thank you for putting the thing in about the building commissioner charged with enforcement. Should we mention that the HHDC does have a form that they had voted in to inform the building commissioner of potential violations or concerns?
That would be
Read there, yeah.
helpful to have that.
Yeah, we voted on that maybe 7 years ago, but we went over it. And we've only used it, I think, twice, so.
Is it enforcement piece, what you're talking about? Is that?
Yes, yeah.
It's enforcement?
Because we do not have powers of enforcement.
Right.
But the building commissioner does. So
Right.
I sat down with Brian Florence, and at that time, we put together a form whereby we could, if something came to our attention, that we would first notify the owner or whatever, what what was a violation, and see if they would deal with it, and if after reasonable time nothing was done, we would turn it over to the building commissioner. Occasionally, we do get someone who comes in and complains.
So basically a policing factor. Now, our commission is a policing factor. Like we see something we don't like, and we're going to tell you about that before enforcement comes down on you. I don't necessarily.
Well, it's just that the particular thing, without saying the property, was an inappropriate color was used on a building that did not ask for permission to change the color. And there was also a sign. The sign ended up
Lots of
being
signs.
fine. And
Lots.
so we just...
Right, but so your proposal on this is that we then would take the lead and go to a business and say, hey, your sign is up and you shouldn't have that.
Well, no, what the letter for the sign was is, we understand that there's a sign there. Could you enlighten us onto this? There is a procedure for it, and would you mind speaking with us on it? And with that, it just, the sign was okay. It wasn't a problem. The color had to be kind of toned down on a different building.
I think the clarification would be the process. There's no paragraph or note on here what the process is, which we have in place, it appears. And so maybe making sure that that's here, that we don't enforce it, but the HDC, if they, see a complaint or have an issue, they would send whatever the form letter is out to the property owner first, letting them know what the violation is.
Right, but isn't that enforcement?
No,
No,
just informing them.
We would send an actual letter, just bringing it to their attention.
Okay.
And
I just think we would tell the building commission, let them be the enforcement, or say, hey, listen, we've received a complaint, and we're going to have to, you have to go through the process. I don't know in my opinion, I don't know if this board wants to get involved in, I got you on that, and you better come to us on that. That's just my opinion. I think we should let the building commission do their job. Go to them and say, hey, here, there's a violation here. You may want to check this out, and let them, as the enforcers, make the.
In both cases, the owners were not aware that there was even a historical commission. They did not know the process, and it was taken care of without any problem
Okay.
whatsoever. In fact, one of them actually thanked us profusely for letting them know.
So, wait a minute.
See that we get complaints.
Not since you guys have been on the board, but in the very beginning we did. That's why we put that together.
1996?
Well, we have a lot
Oh,
of
no, not
problems that
1996. Sorry, go ahead.
Didn't you guys go around
We
and look
have
at
a
all
lot
the
of
neon
problems
signs?
with
We noticed
On
it.
the
district
neon
right
signs.
now.
My
And so
problem,
therefore,
But we're the one that's filing the complaint. They're not, the public is not coming to us to file
Public did
complaints.
well,
come to us.
some could, somebody could do that as well. If they see some, paint color going up next to their house on, on
And
South
then they
Street.
said they did it. Why
Right.
can't I did? I'm not going to go.
Right.
Both cases, it was businesses.
I agree
think
with you, but my thought is, why are we inserting ourselves into something the enforcer is going to do? If we see something that doesn't look good, then we submit a form to the building commissioner and say, hey, listen, so-and-so has a paint color that doesn't match. Could you please go and talk to the owner about that? Like, I don't know if they're the enforcement of it. I don't know why we're getting involved in sending out a letter. It just
Because
doesn't.
usually you don't have to enforce it, you just have to, in both cases, we just had to let them know, and they took care of it right away.
Right. But I
So
mean,
it-
again,
why-
in my opinion, I think I would just let the building commissioner do it, but.
I would agree with Kevin on 2 points. First of all, it's usurping their authority, and second, we could be accused of indiscriminately reaching out to people, if we do for some but not all. I mean, what guarantees do we have that we're not just singling out a certain individual without the color of law behind us to empower us to authorize to do that? I'm very uncomfortable with that.
So if we sent the building commissioner the list of all of the violations that are on Main Street right now, with signage and inflatables and all sorts of things that are in there, and we give them to them and say, these are in violation of our historic guidelines, then you please enforce. And so the building commissioner is going to say, great.
I think,
Sure, get to it by
he'll say,
2030.
I don't have enough
I
time to
just don't
deal
think
with
we
it.
have the legal authority to be doing this.
I don't think that what I understood
As a
the
commission.
process to be was just the information of informing them that there's a violation through the historic.
I don't think we're authorized to do that under the legislation that enacts us and empowers us. I don't think we have that authority.
So what I'm going to,
Our authority.
It isn't.
It's they're not following the law, the
And you're
rules
asking
and
to add it,
regulations.
right?
But when we act as a commission, we act under the color of authority in everything we do.
so I'm going to ask Jim if you would, because if you can ask the attorney's office on that one, and we'll go by whatever they advise on it. The whole thing was, I think the building commissioner was already overwhelmed with all the things they were dealing with, and we were trying to see if we could just notify them, and in both cases, it's,
Brian Florence.
So who is he? Is
No, I laugh. I don't know.
Brian Florence,
Brian Florence.
the problem properties.
Yes, problem properties. I didn't know that was his title. Yeah, he is overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm in problem properties with the Civic Association, and all as I get is, you know, you get a couple wins, but I don't have the people, I don't have the people, I don't have the people.
Yeah.
And nothing gets done. And you have, you know, properties all over Hyannis that are, you know, not following, you know, rules and regulations of the town, and they're not being enforced. So I don't think we're not enforcing these things. We're bringing it to the attention of these people to see what they do.
And only if there's a
I'll be more
notification.
comfortable with that if we get an okay from town council.
That's fine. And just to be clear, it's only if we get a complaint, and then what we do is we say, oh, are you aware that, you know, we first say, okay, that is in violation. And in both cases, we just wrote and said, are you aware that there's a color scheme?
So it's not
And
our
there's a-
complaints. We're not going to
It's not
go.
our complaints, we're just relaying we
Well,
received a
yes, it
complaint.
could be our
and-
complaint.
That's what I'm saying.
That was the whole point.
That was the whole point. But the thing is, if they totally ignore it, then we turn it over to the building commission.
But
and then they
it
take
can
care
be
of it.
our complaints. We are the,
Let me
If it's
pose,
our
let me
complaint,
pose,
that puts us in a rough position, because now we are indiscriminately making decisions about who is and who
But we're
is not.
supposed to
Making a
enforce
decision.
this,
It's based on what was passed and was approved in the historic.
I get it, but we don't have the authority to do that unless town
We don't
council
know
says
that.
we do.
You
Well,
know,
let's find out.
well, we're going to check on, it's not to enforce it, it's just
I
to
understand,
notify
but
them
even
that
that act
it's
of
been brought to our
notifying
attention, yeah.
Even that,
Why would that be something? We're on this commission, and we're trying, people who come to us have to follow a set of rules. We're putting guidelines in place, you know, for new people coming to the town. And then we have people who are here that are not abiding by old ordinances.
there's a difference between us saying, you met with us, something went wrong, you didn't exactly follow what we approved you to do, and saying, you didn't come to us,
I think
and
we
we have
need
a
a
problem with it.
Tom, here's my thing, Tom. It's not that, again, I think it's fine that we go down the street and we see something that's not right. Well, they came in front of us, or they didn't come in front of us, or they changed this, or whatever. But our letter has no teeth. It's worthless. Hey, by the way, you should have a different color. It doesn't matter. If the enforcer goes and says, hey, you know, this has to be changed, you have to go back to the HHDC, that's a whole different story. You've got the person who actually can bring down a penalty going to you and saying, here's the deal. If we're just suggesting, hey, by the way, you missed it, they could be like, nah, I don't want to do it. Then what? Then we got to go to commissioner anyway.
Then this is a waste of time, because I know dealing with problem properties that things just don't get done. You know, you have the town going there and telling people that they're doing things incorrectly, and nobody does, nobody finds them, nobody follows up. So how do we do that? Okay, maybe that's the question. How do we get this people to listen?
Yeah, I agree with you there.
You know, I have a thing driving around town, and I see curbs full of grass and, you know, weeds, 6 feet high, and you call, the public works, oh, we don't have the people. Well, we can't do it, or we can't use Roundup. But they have organic cleaners that they clean on the street, in Main Street. So they do have a way to do it. So how do we enforce these rules?
I'm 100%, I agree with you 100%, Tom. It's just, the difference is that I think if that's the case, you're right. How do we have the enforcers do the enforcing they need to do? It's not, let's add a sort of enforcement to this committee. I just don't think that's the right way. That's just my opinion. I agree with you. Let's go to the building commission and say, listen, we have 15 things here. When are you guys going to get on this? What's going on? I think that's the pressure to apply is great, and maybe the town council's part of that as well. But I just don't think that us sending out a letter, hey, by the way, we see this, and when we don't have any teeth to that letter, I think makes us look.
We do have teeth. We do have
the opportunity to come before us. They say, you know what, I didn't know.
Or
yes,
correct
can
it.
I come before you and tell me what?
How does anybody know to come to us? Like, how did they know to begin with?
Well, some of them don't know, and that's what happened
Mass
in both.
mailing that said,
That's
"Just
what
make
happened
sure you
in
come"?
both of those cases.
Why don't
Now,
we
there's
take- why don't
Tom.
we
Can I
take
just finish what I'm saying, if you don't mind? As far as I can see, we have 3 different categories here. We have us going around town and making a gazillion list of all the different violations and handing it to the building commissioner and saying, "Look, take care of these." And his reaction is probably going to be, "I don't have enough hours in the day." But this was the conversation we had back 7 years ago, or 8 years ago, when it was, how do we deal with these 2 complaints that we have? And it was decided and voted on that after Brian Florence and I got together, and that we can do this. The building commissioner agreed to it. He and I put the letter together where we send it out and saying we've been notified of this. It's only if we've been notified. We're not going around, because then it becomes our complaint. But if we've been notified, we are relaying it to this individual. We have received a complaint about this. In most cases, people are not aware of it. We're just making you aware of this. Can we help you and enlighten you on this? Is there any way we can help you to deal with this? And in both times, it worked out very well. And it had already been voted on as a letter. It hasn't had to be used for years. But the teeth of it is, if the violation is intentional and you want to continue and say, hey, I'm not going to deal with this. If I want to have a hot pink building, 2-story building or 2.5-story building with pink stripes and yellow flowers and green polka dots, then I'm not going to pay any attention to you, despite the fact that every one of my neighbors is complaining about it. And that is not what was complained about. I'm intentionally exaggerating it so we don't identify the properties. But it does have the teeth. It was trying to make it, because most of the people that come here, they buy a business or something, and we want them to bring businesses in. We want them to bring interest into the town. And if they do that, then we want to work with them to help them with their business, so it's not going to get all their neighbors angry and get them complaining and coming to us and saying, what are you going to do about it? Well, we can deal with it, because we were saying then, what good is it? We can't do anything. And that's why Brian Florence and I put that letter together, so that we can do something, but we have 0 powers of enforcement other than to turn it over to the people who can enforce it. But I don't want to be involved in going through and saying, here's a list of all the violations that we've got, because then that is us complaining.
Well, we're talking.
So how do we-
We're talking 2 different things. You're saying something completely different than she's saying. That's why I'm saying. You're saying if we get complaints that come into the committee, she's saying I'm going to go and find these.
That's why I'm correcting it, yeah.
You keep saying we have the teeth. What are the teeth?
The teeth
A letter
is-
that they don't have to
Yeah.
respond to?
Well,
That's not teeth.
because then it goes to the building commissioner, and they have big teeth.
And then what? It takes-
They have
he
teeth if
doesn't
they
do
have the
it?
time.
It takes 4 years to not do it? So what do we have in this conversation?
I think Tom is right. I think the question now becomes, how do we make sure that violations of our codes get enforced? That's the issue. is how does
We
that
met
happen?
with Brian ourselves, and he told us to our faces, we were not to enforce anything.
That's right.
He was going to be the enforcement
He is.
agency and made it very plain that we
We
weren't
don't
going to be
enforce.
doing it.
We don't.
Well, I think then we have to find out legally what.
Yeah,
our
I think find out legally.
What our authority is. You know, is it just Brian, Brian, or do we, with the guidelines that we have, can we enforce these? Not enforcing like, I'm going to go make you do this, but we can go to a store.
Inform
If the signage is wrong, when you and I walk the streets, they have all these racks out on the street. That was just for COVID, okay?
Yeah.
And it's no longer, COVID's over, so those racks should be off. And I think most of these people, if we talk to them, would just
Yeah, they
do it
do.
anyway, okay?
Oh.
So I think we need to know our authority first.
Okay, can we do that by Monday?
Probably not. However, I mean, the authority is pretty clear, but I will absolutely speak with the town attorney. I mean, the building commissioner is the enforcement agent for both zoning and the design criteria in Chapter 112. This commission is a permit granting authority. You are to review and approve or deny applications before you. That is your jurisdiction.
And in my opinion, I wouldn't want to put something in these guidelines in black and white that is a toothless thing that someone can look at and it doesn't really matter.
Well,
So I'd rather leave it just the way it is there.
Okay.
And find another way around.
Well, and then what I would suggest, since we have the meeting on Monday, I think there's a way to problem solve that one. If everybody's happy with the way this is here, because it is strictly the building commissioner, I agree with Commissioner Matthews, why don't we leave it as is? And that'll be one of our things on our agenda for one of our quarterly meetings for tweaking it. Does that sound like a fair enough
Could
proposal?
we just highlight the exact text we're talking about in the
Sure.
proposed guidelines?
It's on page 14. The highlighted red. Because there's nothing on enforcement in
Okay.
it. So we'll leave that in, if everyone's okay with that. And then we'll put it on our agenda after we've talked with the town attorney for one of our quarterly meetings, because we won't have time to deal with it on Monday. And I'd hate to see something not being approved just because we haven't tweaked some finer point. Does that sound fair to everybody?
Yes.
Any objections on that? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Jim, for volunteering to talk about it, town attorney, about that. Okay, so. With that?
There are a number of statements in here that are new to me. A certificate of non-applicability and a certificate of hardship. I haven't seen us use them. Is this something somebody else has used
What
and we
page-
only do appropriateness?
What page are you on, please?
It's in multiple pages, but it's right on page 15. And it says, Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission Review. And then it mentions a certificate of non-applicability and a certificate of hardship amongst them. I've never seen us deal with either one of those two.
We haven't since, we have had them, but not recently.
Not a lot.
Well,
They're very
I haven't
rare.
seen any in years.
And it has been years, by my recollection, about 6.
Are they still an active certificate?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, typically, whenever someone applies, non-applicability, they'll, it's an application and say, this doesn't apply to the commission. We just say it does, and then they apply. So we don't go through the process. We don't go through the shroud.
See how easy that is?
Yeah.
Well, I'm hip to that.
Was the last one. I'm trying to think, that was 8 years ago? 8 years
Wouldn't
ago?
it just be a statement during the hearing that's not applicable to this?
Yeah, essentially, that's what you would be voting on that. So they have something of record to say, we can move forward to the pull a building permit, and it doesn't apply.
Is that done with a motion?
Oh, yeah.
That we just, you end
And a
the
vote,
discussion,
and vote.
say, I want to
Oh,
propose?
yeah. And usually what includes that or precludes that is an explanation of what it is, because you end up with a lot of new members who have never seen it before.
Yeah.
So there's usually information packet that goes out that that's what this is. We'll discuss it at the previous meeting to it and to make sure you're familiar with it. But the last one we had not mentioning the applicant was right after I became chair, and that was about 8 years ago when I was serving on it. So it was, yeah, they exist.
Well, a certificate of hardship could certainly be a real difficult certificate to deal with.
I found it very difficult,
Very difficult.
yeah.
Because some people have allowed their building to fall apart and then claimed that it was, there's a hardship to fix it. When we were talking about demo by neglect, there's a perfect example where a certificate of hardship would
It's
probably
actually-
get us sued.
It's actually more complex than that.
Yeah, wow.
It seems like they're going here page by page.
Looks like, yeah, looks like to me, just looking at the,
Quick thing on 16, then, the red addition there talks about how the commission shall be provided notice of the next regularly scheduled meeting if an application goes to the planning board. It's not technically correct because they could have an extension, correct? So, I mean, is that line,
oh, that's interesting. You're talking about the bit on.
page 60, yeah, 60, it says, any application made to the planning board within the district, this commission shall be provided notice at their next regularly scheduled meeting, but they could ask for an extension, and then it would go to the meeting after that. So is that line really necessary?
Well, this is
Appropriate?
just saying,
Yeah.
hey, by
Yeah.
the way, planning board's dealing with this.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually think that's appropriate.
Yeah, I agree.
To handle all those thousands that come by to say, you know.
Does that happen now? Do we get that on an agenda? Do we get anything that says planning board's working on this and they'll be coming to you soon?
no.
I haven't seen anything like that before.
But not, this would, well, so it would be things that may not come, like parking relief,
Okay,
for instance.
gotcha.
So, like, you would be notified that, hey, there's no architectural improvement being made, but the planning board's dealing with something within the district, just for you to be aware.
Which is usually the information you provide.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
The planning board has been pretty, the planning department has been really good about notifying us of anything that pertains to us. At least in my experience.
Well, I think on that, in that same page, on page 17, when it says the guidelines are strongly recommended, why is that? Why don't they just
We
say they're
change-
required?
We changed that at the smaller meeting, but it actually said, I can't remember, but we wanted to give it some teeth to it. I can't remember what the previous phrase was. I think it might have just been recommended, but we wanted to make it strongly recommended.
So what we're
Oh,
telling them,
actually, I can tell you what it said
No.
Just say
beforehand.
required?
so what they're saying is that the guidelines are out there, but if you don't
Okay.
want to.
Well, it says, but it says in the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront District, the guidelines apply to all applications.
Yeah.
The strongly recommended looks like it's more in the growth incentive zone and stuff like that.
For new
where we-
develop-
Where
all
we
new
don't have jurisdiction, that's what I
For
think.
all new development and redevelopment.
The original wording was guidelines are recommendations for all new development. We wanted to give it more emphasis, so strongly recommended is what we changed it to.
Can't you just say required?
Or we could just
Required,
strike
but then
out.
that means because sometimes we have a little bit of leeway there. Required means we have no leeway.
Why wouldn't the guideline one be forcefully applied? I mean, what do we do in the guidelines?
But it's
This
required.
is a suggestion?
Then you make it required, you know, and that was my whole thing.
Yeah.
I would want to have more required things than guidelines, because guidelines, you know, it's strongly recommended, so I have no problem with it.
Yes,
Strongly
all right.
recommended.
So, I mean, the obvious for a guideline versus requirement, I mean, this is a historic board looking at specific circumstances, right? So, for instance, just what we talked about early on, like window boxes. we want you recommended window boxes in many instances, but you're not going to require a window box for every darn window on Main Street.
Right.
So that's where guidelines come in. That, hey, this is we want character, we want all these things, but it's not going to apply in every circumstance.
And strongly recommend, it says, we really like them.
It's like stop signs and red lights here. They're only a suggestion.
Yeah, can we do that when we go 2 ways on Main Street?
Strongly recommend you to do this.
Try that at the Rotary.
There were some changes that we had on 20.
The 19 in the picture there is one of the ones of the pictures that I'm asking that they consider using, or use some of our own pictures. This doesn't look like Hyannis at all.
That's a good call, Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
If we're trying to look like Hyannis, let's look like Hyannis.
It looks like Boston, actually, or
Yeah.
Brookline.
So with that, so we'll work on some images. It's wholly up to this commission. We don't have, you can hold off on adopting until we can get images you would like. I would like to have a discussion, though, on those images you would like, because in talking with each individual, you guys don't agree.
So actually, for the most part, we do. We work pretty well together.
No,
But
I
yeah,
don't disagree
yeah.
in that regard,
Yeah.
but what is a good image for,
Yeah.
what is that historic image of Main Street varies amongst members here.
So might I suggest that what we do is again put that on the quarterly meeting after things, to get some of the basic things ready for Monday, because we've been on this for months now. And I think, I'd like to see images that were there, but if we can't have them by Monday, I'd put that on the list for the next update, which we can then approve, send to the planning. We don't have to have a joint meeting. We can send it to them to approve as well, to be incorporated in both guidelines. How does that sound to people?
I don't know. The images, we could throw a lot of things onto the quarterly, review, but,
Yeah.
this looks like a city. I think we're all agreed, on
Yeah.
page 19. And then on page 21 is really the image of what we're really looking to achieve, in downtown. Could we have imaging like that on page 19?
See, I kind of disagreed with that be downtown. I said, oh, that makes a good residential picture, but for downtown, is that representative of what downtown can be?
Right.
I mean, I think it's great. It shows what we would like, and I think from a residential
But it's not really
standpoint.
big.
I think,
Well, there's no storefronts here.
If you tell me what to take a picture of, I can do it this weekend and have it by Monday.
Tell me what
I'm
to take
a
tell me what to take a
sports
picture.
photographer,
Oh, good, that, nice.
I have
I would love
a
your
I
help
do, I
on
like
that.
this as a good representative of the historic residential to achieve, but then do something that has more of what we're looking for the storefront. But yeah,
can you get those to Jim by Monday?
Me? Yeah, if you tell me what buildings, like, what do you think? Like you said, my idea and your idea are different, but.
It's different. Yeah.
So, one suggestion, I mean, again, yeah, I think it might be a bigger conversation just based on my individual conversation with everybody. We could easily just say reserved and remove the image if you don't like the image, and just put reserved there.
That's a good idea.
Amen, I like that.
And
I
then
like that.
That's good.
And in addition, we could add, so we already have a 2A and B, but I could rework that. And this could be, so on page 21, 21, example of desired facade height and rhythm for residential.
Yes.
And then I mentioned here, I think this comes from Laura's actually comment, maybe a secondary image of, and if
A commercial.
Jen has one
commercial.
of recommended commercial, then you have both of them. So if it is in a residential area, you have that. If you have commercial area, you have that.
That's good.
That works.
I like that. The reason I'm saying is this thing is 76 pages long, and it's
And this
taken us.
isn't the whole
We're on page
bylaw.
24.
No,
so-
but the thing is, it's taken us so many months to do it, and if every time we go through, if we find we like it all, of all the changes we did tonight, then we could come back to a month from now and find we don't like all that and we want more. So, we don't want to hold it up for months and months and months if we can avoid that.
Yeah.
Page 20. 21.
I just have a quick thing on
21.
24, real quickly.
Okay.
I'm looking at 24 under B, color. We say the addition is color requirements do not apply to signage logos, but shall take into consideration historic surroundings when applying. We just had a case where we asked a business to change their logo and to do a different logo because it didn't fit what we thought worked in that area. So to say it doesn't apply to signage but take into consideration, I think if we're going to say, color requirements include working with us on consideration of historic surroundings, because that's what we just did. And I can't remember the place, but the one down at the end of Main Street across from the old Guido Murphy's there.
Okay, so we 23 and 24 do not jive between old and new. Can you tell me what the title is on it, please?
On the newest one you have, it's on the top of 24, so the one we should be working
Oh, got it.
with.
Okay, thank you.
So this one, so this is several iterations of this. This is, originally it was color requirements don't apply to signage because of the logo discussion. So the discussion of logos specifically and regulating speech and regulating one's brand is challenging. And so this language could be tweaked, but the thought process as it was developed out was, okay, logos, sure, okay, you have your own store brand. We can't really tell you how to do your own brand logo, but the sign package itself, the full signage, should take into the consideration of historic surroundings, exactly like what you did at the last one. So the logo itself, could it be whatever store, but then, it's a purple sign, and one of them was very bright, and you guys said, like, we got to
Right.
tone that down.
Right.
So that's what this is implying, but we could definitely,
This is like the McDonald's example. They've got their arches, but sometimes when they go into communities where there's some kind of a regulation or, they tone down the M and don't make it as large. I mean, it can be done. It's just the wording on that concerns me a little bit.
Can we just say that signage logo shall take into consideration historic surrounding when applying, and not have that first, I had a problem with that sentence as well. I'd say take out that color requirements do not apply to signage, because they do. But you could just, if you want to put something about logos.
How about color requirements do not apply to full business logo, but full sign should take into consideration historic surroundings.
I think that's confusing.
So that way, well, it's
How-
like if you've got McDonald's logo, your logo's fine, you can do whatever you want, but when you're putting that whole sign up, try to make it, adapt to the the historical area that you're in. Again, just like McDonald's does right now in places like Mystic or whatever, they don't want a flashy big M in front. They put their logo up, but it's just they tone it down to fit in their area. That's what I'm trying to do.
How about we simplify it and say color requirements may not apply to signage? That way you can apply it or not apply it.
I would think that is confusing, so then someone reads that and said, oh, I've got a sign, I don't have to go before you.
Well, then they
Not
have.
just my logo, just everything. If you kick that out and just say
Well-
color requirements, again,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
logo should be going before us again, just so that they come before us.
Well, how about-
We could still accept that color if they say, well, that's my logo or such, but I think having that sentence in there that it does not apply to signage is really a problem.
So how about signage and logos shall take into consideration historic surroundings when applying?
It must all be approved by the HHDC.
That's fine.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay?
That's what you,
Again, I understand what he's saying too. We can't change the logo. I mean, if this place has a logo, this is their style, that's the style they're going to have. The colors of the sign is what we're concerned about. We don't want it to be too bright, bright pink, bright purple, whatever the case is. But if they have a logo, again, like I keep using McDonald's, but change the color of the logo a little bit to make it fit into the historic district. I don't know if we can tell somebody you can't use your logo. That's my
I
problem.
think it depends on
think it
some of
was
the
just that
logos,
the-
too.
Anything with their sign has to come before us, whether it's got a logo on it or not.
Or we could say should. Does it say should? What does it say? Shall, should. How about should take into consideration? I'm just thinking some of the logos, we haven't had it yet, but there could be an offensive logo, and just something that is definitely something that is inappropriate. Unlikely, but it covers that kind of thing. So should take into consideration. It leaves a bit of wiggle room, but it also leaves a bit of what Commissioner Matthews refers to as teeth.
So what are you proposing?
Signage and logos should take into consideration historic surroundings when applying. So that also means they have to apply when applying. So it covers the application need.
I think that's good.
I'm fine with that.
Yep, okay, so we
That's
got
fine.
that. Signage and logos should take into consideration historic surroundings when applying, or with their application, what do you want, with their application or when
When
applying?
applying's fine.
With applying, okay, when applying, good. Okay, everybody okay with the rest of 24?
Page 48, it has the word "the." I don't like that word. Can we get that out of it?
Only one of them?
Yeah, just "the." That's got to go.
This bandage on this finger does not help with turning these pages.
Again, this is going to be piece by piece. 29, we're talking about the panels, and it says shall not negatively impact the historic character of the property. I mean, any panel is going to alter the historic character of a building. I don't know if that, it's, maybe we want to say, you make sure that, and maybe it does here, and I'm not looking. Yeah, there you go. The panels are away from public view. But I mean, you put a panel on a historic building, you're changing the look of it.
It says we have negatively impact. Shall not negatively impact. Again, it leaves wiggle room.
Okay.
I agree, it does impact, but it may actually enhance the historic nature of it.
Solar panel?
A solar panel, though? That's pretty 2000s. But that's fine. Good. Yeah, there's a lot of things we're putting prohibited in here, making changes, which is good.
Just not a fan of that door. The yellow door. It's a picture of the door. It's like, that's not even anywhere.
Now, I have here on page 35 that when we reviewed this, that the pictures on the bottom right of 34 above, below the NH-made picture, that was going to have its own page.
It ended up having its own appendix.
Oh, okay. It's just we weren't able to read it as such. So it has its own appendix that shows what's in there?
Right, exactly.
Excellent. Okay, works.
Yeah, it's kind of large. It would really interrupt the guidelines.
That's fine.
I like the changes on 47 when you added D. When you said to emphasize historic and maritime character of murals. I think that was a great addition.
What page are you on, please? Tom?
47?
Yeah, that's, the
near
mural
murals,
section's very
right?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Give Laura the credit on that one.
Yeah, Laura, that's
Getting
really,
ahead of me.
that's good.
I'm still working my way.
Now, the one thing I did when I read it, talks about the artist engaging the community in the design process. I guess I kind of would like more of an idea of what that means. And the reason I say that is at a prior meeting, we were told that there was a community process for something that was submitted, yet none of us really had an idea of that process even happened. I don't know how you do that or if you can do that, but a community process I wish was more inclusive so everybody would know and everybody could make an opinion. That's the only thing that concerns me.
What page are we on?
Where are you, Joe?
It's in B, again, we're on page 37.
37 or 47?
I'm sorry, 47, my fault. B, it talks about the public art in the sentences, art can be a featured piece, a part of architectural elements, blah, 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 blah. An element, artwork should be designed by an artist who engages the community in the design process as approved by the commission if in the district. And then my question is, I guess it's the design process, engaging the community. How do you do that? I mean, I guess it's up to them, but if like the last time there was a community, a mural was presented that said it was the community and, put their ideas in. None of us had ever heard of any kind of, give us your ideas for a mural. I mean, I just wish we could make sure community process was full community, you know what I mean?
Well, I think also the issue we have too is when we look at murals on the buildings and where we want them, I think it should be an approved process where, not every blank wall should have a mural. And just because there's an alleyway or something like that doesn't mean we should just go and paint it. And I think the process of approving and getting input, maybe you decide if you decide where the mural's going to go, it's open to the public in some manner of being able to say, well, gee, you know what? If I had known that alleyway was available for a mural, I would have put, our ideas in. But I agree. I think the ones that come before us with just these selected groups to choose is not representative of the town. And definitely
That's my concern. I agree.
The businesses and stuff like that.
Yep.
How you do that, I don't know, but
Maybe again, and I'm just spitballing here. Maybe it's a Hyannis bid thing. Maybe you ask the merchants on Main Street, hey, so-and-so is applying to put a mural on. What are your thoughts? Or come to the meeting and tell us your thoughts. Or just, I think, getting the community more involved than just we had a get-together with a whole bunch of people and here's what we think. I just think they should be more involved.
I'd push back on that a little bit, and I'd take a step back from even the guidelines. I think the problem is the meetings, because we all know who we're talking about, and it turns into a circus in here, a debate, and we get so off topic. We start talking about if graffiti in the 1700s warrants, graffiti. I think it's good to have some guidelines, and I think it's, I'm just putting it out there because we're on this topic, but that's what happens. It breaks down into basically a public argument, a debate about appropriateness, political views, what's art, what's not art. I think we need to do a better job of just controlling that situation
So
when it
Commissioner,
occurs.
so Commissioner Clark, are you saying you want to tighten it up or not? Or
I'm saying tighten our meeting up. Don't have somebody sitting there next to Cornelius for 45 minutes giving us a history lesson on why we're wrong about everything,
Yeah.
including our, including whatever, our recycling policies. And frankly, last time around, outright lying about the messaging
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mural.
Well, man, I think one of the,
And you
I-
get cornered because you're afraid you're going to get called.
Racist or something.
can
this,
I
that, or the
remind you,
third.
you are on camera?
I know I'm on
Okay,
camera. There's
okay,
5
just-
of them.
okay.
Make sure you watch it tomorrow night, all of you, because it's ridiculous. And we're on our heels, afraid that
Yeah.
someone's going to say, hey, you're on camera. I'm going to tell everyone to watch you. Go ahead. But what happens in here when that type of an application comes across is completely out of control. So again, I think I'm off topic. I think it's good to have some guidelines in here, but I think it's a matter of doing a better job in these meetings. And yeah, I mean, put a time limit on it or something. But
Can do that.
then you got other people coming through the door. Then I mean, it's just we've seen this. It's basically running a filibuster.
Public comment, we do have timing, but we don't on the applicants because it's not fair. I mean, sometimes we do ask them to wind it up or we'll have to continue it, but it's not fair to let one have more time and another have less. We have to decide what that is because some of these are huge projects. But I wanted to,
We're so far beyond fair on we're cradling with white cotton gloves and trying to fair is 30 to 40 minutes back from where we always end up in these meetings.
okay.
We've wasted over 3 hours before on a mural in the library.
There were things
It's
that
just-
brought up. Jim, I had mentioned to you about the guidelines that we had, the restrictions that we had put on the previous art mural application. I didn't actually see all those in here. Is it something that we leave open for things? Remember, we had the whole litany of, like it can't be used for,
conditions that were
vote
spelled out
for
the
me.
last one.
It can't be, it has to be something that can be for, a family can walk past.
well,
Yeah.
if I may, I think these, especially C and D, which by the way, you want to
Yeah,
read
I
the letter.
got
The two bottom ones, I think tell it very well. We want historical or cultural features, and we're prioritizing local art with historic and maritime character. I think that's it. I mean,
think
there's your
that
rules.
I think
Okay,
that
fair
covers a
enough.
lot of it, but
I agree.
also, I think the number of artists, somehow how can we get that in there? Right now, we've only been dealing with one art group, for the 2 instances we had. And I think the town needs a representation of different artists.
I like that.
Well, my question: Who would apply for a mural? Is it the building owner where the mural's being painted on? Is it the artist who's actually going to paint it? I mean, that's my first thing. I'm just going to I don't know, say Columbo's had a big wall and they want to do a mural on their outside wall, and of course they don't. But if they did, is that Dave comes in here and says, this is what I want to do? Is it the artist that says,
I can answer that for you.
okay, good.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you were going to give a legal perspective. This question has come up before without mentioning the actual application, when an entity came forward to present an application for an art display. I believe that was on a wall as well. And they did not own the property. So I said, I don't see the owner here. I'm aware that you don't own that property. We're going to need to know that the owner of that property has given you permission for this application to paint on their wall. And then we go by the application. So it's not just the artist that can say, can I paint on this wall, when they don't have permission haven't even asked, perhaps, I'm making the extreme, for a property they don't own. But usually the artist or the entity that wants to do the particular piece will come in, and it's appropriate to come in or have a letter confirming that the owner of that property is okay for that application to be considered.
If that is the case, then to me, this application, this whole thing about the historic character and features and the maritime and all that, that's the building owner's responsibility. They should put the application and say, I have X artist who's going to come in and do this on my wall, and this is what I want to do. The artists really aren't involved. It's not really they're being commissioned by the person who's putting the mural up. It's the owner of the property should come and say, this is what I want to do to my building with this mural. The artists have nothing to do with it. That's a commission that they're doing on their own. I don't think we need to talk to the artist. We need to talk to the person who's getting the art painted on their building. That's my opinion.
But even if they got a letter saying, in any example, if they got the letter and said, the owner says I can do this, and the artist could still take 3 hours to describe.
Yeah, but I mean, the artist, it's the building owner. They're the ones who have to be here. I mean, the owner has to come in, and just like everybody else who wants an
Right.
application for their building, or wants a new sign or whatever.
I see, yeah.
But it's actually the opposite, though. So the owner can sign off, has to sign off on everything. And we have some property owners here, but they have lots of tenants, and those tenants are the business owners that operate there, and so they're coming for their signage. So if an
Right.
individual has a building, they're going to need to sign off that, yeah, we've given authorization, but X restaurant is coming in and putting forward a sign, that applicant is very likely going to be the restaurant owner.
Okay,
or whomever.
then the restaurant, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to take it out of the artist's application, and I'd rather have the business that's doing it provide the application and come in and say, I've hired X artist, and they're going to do this.
Oftentimes, it's not that they've hired them, it's that the artist or an entity has asked for permission to do it, and then but they have to have permission from the owner in order to do that task.
Right.
It doesn't change what Kevin said.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, though, is it's not the business or the owner, whatever it
Yeah.
is, whoever has the permission to do that, they're the ones who should be applying to us. The artist should be giving them an example saying, this is what we're going to do to the building, and then the business or the owner comes in and goes, here's what I want to do to my building. Then there's no debate with the artist about, hey, I want to use this color, that color. We look at it, we say, yeah, that doesn't fit, or, oh, that's good. And then we go away, and it's set. And then you take away your long meeting because you're debating colors or, that kind of stuff. You're just dealing with the actual business owner, which is what I think we should do in the first place.
And it also controls where they're located, because once
Yeah.
another one goes up, they can say, oh, there's a blank wall, let me do that.
Yeah.
I'm an artist, I'll get somebody's approval, whereas the owner is the one that should be responsible
I'm
for.
fine
Agree.
with that, but I would suggest that we would have to tighten that up further, and that whoever it is, the artist or whatever, would have to come in with them, because there would be questions from us that the owner isn't going to be able to answer, because all that person would have is be this, and we'd end up with 5 months of continuations while they go and ask the artist.
I'd rather do
Come
that
back
than have
in.
an artist read their thesis from their doctorate or whatever, and everything else that happens. Let us tell the owner why we said yes or no,
Yep.
and let them bring it back to the artist.
That's what I would do.
So-
Put it in the owner or business's hands. That's their proposal. It's going on their building.
But then should that not apply to signs as well? We had a couple of weeks back a sign maker who came and explained the signage that they were proposing. I don't know if the owner of the establishment was there at the time, the restaurant.
Right, but what I'm saying, though, is that the signage was approved by the owner that this is what they want, and the owner obviously would have said yes, because if the owner didn't like it, they would say, you're not putting that in my building. I just think that the application should come, I think it should go through the business and not the artist.
I don't
think
mind it going through the business, but you also have some businesses where the business owners don't live on the Cape and that, or they'd have to come down from Boston, or they have things in other towns. I think it's fine, but I want to make sure we can legally make that change, that it has to be because only one of us is a lawyer. I think we can make the change, but I would like to make sure that that is legal for us to make that change, that it has to be from the business owner.
Again, we don't determine the number. What if all the businesses want to have all different kind of, I mean, do we want to try to identify what is appropriate for a number of outside murals and artwork? Because it's not just murals, it's going to be artwork that's going to be coming around,
And
too.
other things.
As a commissioned or whatever. And
Well, yeah,
Statues
look at all the
and
buildings
whatever.
you got right now.
Statues.
The side of the building that's on Barnstable Road there and Ocean Street, you've got that big side building
Yeah.
there. The Sturgis, you got a big side
Yeah.
building there. I mean, there's a lot of places where you could put a mural, but I don't know how that would work. Is that a zoning thing? Is that a who would make that call?
Yeah, I don't want a mural on every blank wall, and
I'm just
Exactly.
saying, it doesn't, if there's something,
This encourages murals and artists.
it does, that's
It does.
why.
A, B
Yep.
encourages
Yep.
it.
I think it might go back to the owner again and the point you just made, Commissioner Powell, that if you want to cover a wall with a 30-foot mural, the least you can do is drive down from Boston or Connecticut or wherever you are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big
affecting our
ask.
community.
Like, you want to remotely ask permission to put up a
Okay, so
40 by 40 piece of art? Like,
let me pin you down on that, because it creates another problem, because we have to be consistent with other applicants and applications. So we often have somebody come and they're represented by their attorneys.
That'd
So are
be
we
even
saying,
better. Let's have them send an attorney instead of the artist. I'd much rather deal with it.
instead of the owner? You're okay with
Instead of the
that?
artist, yeah.
Well, instead of the owner. Do you say the owner has to come with the attorney?
I don't care. I just don't want the artist in here.
The,
I don't, here's, and again, I love artists, I love art.
I'm trying to squirm around. Which one is it?
I think the yes or no should be an up and or down with the design we see. Somebody comes in with a design.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good. No, it's not good. Not a debate about, maybe if you do this or if you do that. That's where I think we get tied down. If the building manager or owner comes in and says, this is what I want, then we'll talk to the owner. Listen, we don't like this or whatever. He can go back to the artist and deal with the artist. We as a commission shouldn't deal. That's not our,
Okay.
art is not our thing. We
Right.
deal with businesses.
And this
Two
is a
subjects.
completely
Take that-
different animal. This isn't a staircase or a sign. This is.
Yeah.
but don't single them out. They're still applicants, just as much
they
as
are.
Should they
anybody
be
else.
singled out as a separate category, though? How can you categorize
They're an
a
applicant
piece
to
of
the-
wall art as you would a roof?
They are an applicant from this town to this commission in the
Yeah.
historic commission to see if they can do this in the historic district. So we have to have really the same rules applied to applicants. And if we're going to say it would have to be the applicant would have to come forward, then I think it has to be consistent. Otherwise, you're discriminating, in my opinion.
To back up, does everybody agree that we should allow murals, or can we just
I was going to say,
say no?
Yeah. I don't.
No murals.
I think I do think you're right. I think at one point we have to decide how many murals do we want.
You can have a fish mural.
You can have, are you going to have one every couple of blocks? Are you going to have one on, how are you going to do it? There's step one, is how we're going to, what's our mural plan, so to speak.
Right,
Step
exactly.
two then becomes, when the application comes in, I think, in my opinion, the business owner, the business, the manager of the business, whatever, they come in with their design of what they think they should be. Artists can come if they want, that's fine, but they're going to present the design. We're going to say yes, no, depending on how it works.
Comment, they'll all come
Yeah,
up.
and they can come up and say whatever they want.
Right.
And
That's time.
That's great.
That's time.
But that's okay. I don't mind.
Public comment is
yeah.
time.
Okay.
So,
These are really intramural discussions in terms of what we're discussing on page 47.
I agree.
That's how we operate as a commission. So I don't know the extent to which that's relevant to our addressing the topic of art and murals. I guess my only question would be, is there a distinction between a permanent mural and a temporary mural? And should there be one?
We have always done temporary, and they have to come back within, usually it's annually they come back, because on the basis that if, what we have made it on the basis of is if it hasn't worked out, we can still do something about it. But if we just give a blanket yes,
Did 6 months, I
Yeah, we
think.
did 6 months.
we did 6 months, and then we did another 6 months, so you're right, yeah.
they don't want something,
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I
I think in here, we're putting in the emphasis of the murals on historic and maritime character. It's terrific.
I agree.
But then it gets back to, how many do we want?
Right.
And
we determine
who
that.
comes in, I don't know. And how are you going to stop people from talking unless we do, as they do in, the town council meetings, where you give people 3 minutes?
We
But
do.
that's not fair to a lot of developers that
On
are coming
public
in.
comment, we give 3
On public
minutes.
comment.
Public comment, yeah, it's usually
But
3 to 5.
To someone to come in and giving their presentation, I don't know how you're going to stop them
Well, that's what I'm
from.
saying, you can't, some are, I mean, look at some of the huge projects that we have had come in. You can't say, well, the standard time is 10 minutes. Well, I'm talking about 80 units, They're too, I think it's a matter of, you have to take each case individually. And I think in all fairness, with the ones that you're referring to, we were trying to we have the platform that we try very hard to work with our applicants. That's why we have such a huge success rate. I was very proud when I went before the town council, and I was saying this year we had 2 that we turned down. This year we had 1. This year we had none. Our declining them is because we work with them, and because we want to help the residents to do things. Sometimes they're just not appropriate, and sometimes we're confronted with new things, so we have to decide how to deal with it while still keeping our platform of trying to work with them, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And that's why we put conditions on it, so, because that's what we can do.
In B, on page 47,
Yeah, take that second
that
line out.
whole, it says, where elevations lack these features, such as blank walls and garages, consider incorporating
murals up.
public art features such as colorful murals to provide pedestrian interest as approved by the commission if in the district. So I think we're encouraging them to paint the wall or do something there. So I would just say, you know, art features, again, it gets so subjective where, you know, it's a blank wall, so I want to put some caricature there. So instead of just painting it a bright color, they could be just, you know, putting some artwork on there. The murals, I think we shouldn't be part of that.
Can I ask, do you think there should be, here's the question, should we have murals in Main Street? There's question 1. Let's start with that.
The reason we put it in, because it wasn't in before at
Right.
all, and that's because we now have had some applications, but we had, and they, you know, we were challenged on, there was nothing about murals in our
Right.
guidelines. How can we follow your guidelines if it's not in there on the murals?
So that's what I mean. This committee right now, our question is, do we want murals on Main Street?
I don't think we have well, no, yeah.
I don't think
about
that's our consideration. We have them already. They haven't been problematic.
Precedents.
I think it's our consideration to determine how much is too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's where we are now.
I agree with
It's how
that.
much it's
But I
too
don't
much.
think we should encourage them to fill the blank spaces. I think that sentence is a
I
little bit.
agree with the blank
So then,
spaces.
what do we
Fighting.
do right now in our minds? Go down Main Street in our heads and say, okay, that building can have one, that building could have one. Do we limit it by number? There could only be 3. I mean, how do we do this?
In there to-
Right, but I mean, how do we do that?
But we already do that. We do that with buildings. We have discussions about Main Street. This is appropriate in this part of the Main Street. This is not appropriate in this part. We just had a discussion like that last meeting when we talked about the unique context and placement of a proposed project as opposed to another proposed project of similar.
So you think don't even put a limit on murals in the guidelines at all?
I would just say, owners seeking to install murals need to consult with us.
Yeah.
Yes. What I had here is the approval of murals are as approved by the commission if in the district.
And we can look at the area and say, do we think it's fitting for that area or it's not fitting?
And as a lawyer, you don't think there'll be an issue if we approve one but not another?
Not at all.
Okay.
We have a certain amount of discretion in what we do.
Okay.
Exactly. Absolutely. So how about the wording, the approval of murals are as, and then take the red part, as approved by the commission if in the district? Does that work for people, or how do you want it?
That again, Cheryl.
What line is
Go
that?
go to the last
We're on
line,
40, we're
A,
on
B.
B.
So go to the last line, and before the as approved by the commission, the approval of murals are as approved by the commission if in the district. We have no jurisdiction at all outside the district. Does that read okay to people, or do you want to change it?
I would say here's the line, where elevations lack these features such as blank wall, garages, consider a public art such as a mural. I don't think we should tell them consider public art. There's no need for us to,
From that whole
Yeah.
second
I'm
line.
sorry, I meant take that out as well.
Yeah.
I didn't say it.
Thank you. That's what I was suggesting.
Yeah.
you could say something to the effect of where elevations lack these features such as blank walls and garages, murals may be considered as approved by the commission or something to that effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so leave that first part of it in. So where elevations lack these features, such as blank walls and garages, murals may be approved, may be considered for approval, be considered
By the
for
commission,
approval
correct.
By the commission if in the district. Does that work? Have we got that?
That's what yes. Did you get that?
The next paragraph down, there's the lettering underneath item B goes A, C, B, C, D.
Yeah, I got that.
That's how Jim learned it. I don't know what your problem is, Jack.
What's wrong with that, Jay?
It's a new math.
And your point is?
It's the new
Let's not
alphabet.
get philosophical.
It's the new alphabet.
Just wanted to make sure you're still with us.
But other than that, I love that the C and D, the last two lines of that subset B, I think that's great.
Okay.
And again, somebody coming in, I don't think we can, unfortunately, time them. But, public comment, we can give 2 minutes.
And all I'm not trying to shut up artists. That's not what I'm doing at all. I'm just saying I'd like to have more of the responsibility of the application be on the person who's actually getting the building painted. That's my opinion.
Me too. I'm with you.
So then C, under B and then C, the first C, it says artwork should be designed by an artist who engages the community in the design process.
Again, to me, that's not. The business owner is going to present the thing. How they choose, that's not our business. I mean, however, as long as you're these new guidelines at the bottom of being maritime, historic, whatever. As long as you're
Like, say,
would take
you
that
want
out.
to, yes,
That whole
or
sentence, yeah.
add,
The thing is, they do have to be able to bring in the relevant artists because it's like asking somebody to come in on a building project of a new frontage and then not allowing the person who's actually doing it to speak. So we have to be consistent and fair there.
If you wanted to artwork should be designed by an artist who may engage the community in the design process. You can put that if you'd like.
No, I'm not talking about the community. I'm talking about they should be able to
She
explain,
is.
to answer
That's
questions.
what she's bringing
Oh, I
in.
see what you mean.
She's
Okay,
bringing that
gotcha.
up. Because that's a good point, because.
It is a good point.
The community involvement could be
They were saying
anything.
before.
Right.
A group of people at a corner, or it could be
Right.
all of Main Street.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. You could. I think you're right.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
you could say who may engage the community in the design process or something like that.
I think that's good, too.
Okay.
I had a problem with this from the beginning with interactive, solutions to enhance relationship between people and elements, and I got voted down on that when it was first around, because it just encourages everybody to put like inflatables and new things on their
Tell us where you are.
property, the same section.
Okay, right,
And that's what I'm saying. I said, but we don't want to encourage that. We want to make sure that, what we're allowing for in the historic district is appropriate. We've got furniture, we've got paint, we've got fencing, we've got windows, we've got everything else, and we don't have anything. Again, this is subjective to say it's interactive and
I understand.
engages in the
I agree with you.
community.
Or
I
with
agree.
their community identity, like if it doesn't fit into Main Street.
Right.
We're encouraging.
I agree with that.
So why would we want to encourage that to do? Because then you go, well, I have this because it's a talk about. It's people like to talk about it when they're. It's a community engagement.
Yeah.
But at least, if we get it approved before us, then that's fine. But having them use that and incorporate it just.
So you just want to take B out?
confusing. Yeah.
The consider interactive design solutions? I'm fine with that. It doesn't. it's fine
I
with
think
me.
if they're going to do something, they can come to before us and get approved for anything other than what's allowed in the.
I think the first sentence in B is okay. It's that next sentence. I'd
There's
say.
only one sentence.
There's
in
only
B.
one sentence.
It's under B, it's BB.
Okay, I already changed them around, right. Okay.
It's the new C.
Yeah.
Yeah, under B, the little b under the big B, that's the thing we're talking about. I think,
Yeah, I
I don't
think
mind removing that.
yeah,
That wouldn't,
So,
Between the
under
two
under
Cs.
the.
yes, exactly. right,
Under
yeah.
the old C and now the current B, I think we could also take out that second sentence, because again, it's going into the interactive, because
Right, that's
what
what-
comes to that one too.
That's what we're saying. That's the
Okay,
one we're talking about. That whole
yeah,
thing can be removed.
The thing is, art is subjective. People could say this pen is a piece of art. Is it maybe to the person who designed it, but it is subjective, so.
But again, under the first C, again, it says, as approved by the commission. So
Yes.
that's the catch-all.
That's
fine.
why we kept putting that in there,
Right.
because it's a catch-all.
But that B, I agree
next
with you,
one, go.
Laura.
Yeah, take that out.
If I take that out.
Take that out, and then the one the old C, take out the second sentence.
And what about B, the large B, little a, the second sentence? Opportunities for interpretation of unique community features. Like,
Provide opportunities for interpretation of unique community features such as
I
historic.
think
Artistic.
that sentence actually is the same as C and D, actually, but C and D are
Right.
more
Right.
descriptive of what we're looking for. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
second sentence on BA, I think it can go as well.
Yeah, keep it
You're
simple.
talking about the first A, right?
Yeah.
The first A, the second
So-
sentence, provide
Second sen-
opportunities.
That's what I thought. But the
Yeah.
thing is, it's providing opportunities for a unique community
missing that
features. It's involving,
interpretation.
it's involving it's
Interpretation.
involving the community.
Interpretation that they would.
Okay. I'm not, you know,
And
I'm not
again,
going to die on a sword for it.
C and D really bore into what we're looking for, so
Right.
putting
Yeah,
that,
the main
that doesn't
community,
matter.
but I'd take that full sentence.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Making progress.
Making progress.
I like the pictures.
Poor Jim.
I was like,
Jim has put a lot of work in.
He has, and
Did
he's
we
done a
put the
great
bike-
job.
the bike
as we pick it up.
as approved, the bike
worries about it.
design as approved by the commission? Bike rack designs must be approved by commissions, because they've got,
Are you talking about the picture, Laura?
the 40.
Of the bike?
in 49,
49?
the bike racks, they have examples there now. If we're saying, oh, yeah, that's what we want, then fine, but I didn't know if as an example,
We want this playful bike.
but
Yeah.
do we want bike, well, bike racks should be approved by the commission. They're part of the fixtures, right?
They do, yeah.
So if we're displaying these kind of bike
Examples, yeah.
examples, is that,
I don't know how many bikes you put in that small one there.
Under 3, the Roman numeral 3, I think it is, design bike racks to be attractive, yes, but playful, like on Main Street?
I mean, yeah,
Shouldn't it be historic
Yes.
instead of playful?
Yeah,
I know
I'd take playful out and put historic. I like that.
yeah.
And then maybe
Yeah.
not have
What's a
playful
historic bike
pictures.
rack?
I don't know. You know what I mean? Shush over there.
Well, no, that's what I
That's
that's what I
exactly
got
right.
confused with, is that, okay, I get it, but,
Imagine what they could come in with playful.
right.
Like,
Well, the thing is, you don't really want kids putting their bikes there and then playing while other people are bringing bikes in.
Then you can actually just take the second sentence out. Bike racks located adjacent to building entries near shared parking areas and or next to play areas. Boom.
Yeah.
You don't need to say anything else.
Yeah. And do we
Then
need
you can take the
picture?
pictures out. It's, Tom, it's a B3 about the bike racks.
Yeah, take that.
Just
the playful bike rack.
yeah, take the design bike racks to be attractive, playful, and functional. Just take that out.
And then take the pictures.
And then you can take the pictures out.
Yeah,
There you go.
there you go.
More room, yeah.
Are they allowed to put bike racks in front of their stores?
It's on their property, they could, yes.
Like in the sidewalk?
Yeah, or the town could.
And these pictures, we talked about doing something that's more appropriate relative to our area for on page 50 and 51.
I thought that was actually pretty close to Barnstable Road, Main Street, actually.
I thought that was it.
That is it, for the most part.
I was going to say, I think that's,
It's the signage.
Food mart, right?
yeah,
Is
Same
this-
thing with Ocean Street.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the hotel,
Yep.
which looks good, by the way.
The science section is pretty detailed.
Yeah, it's actually nice.
Right out of it.
Now, just double checking, the handwritten signs and displays does not include a handwritten logo sign, correct? Like if somebody has a sign and it's written, that's we're not counting that, right?
Right.
No, okay.
Covered.
Did we add there, Jim, the open, closed signs must be off at night?
Yes, it should be in there. Let's see, where?
It says open signs with the applicable businesses not
Oh,
open.
yeah, I rephrased it because of
Buildings.
We originally had open and closed signs shall not be
There, I'm
displayed.
sorry, it's in red, yep.
And
Okay, it is.
I think some might want to display their closed sign when the business is closed. So I rephrased that a little bit.
Is that something?
That's prohibited, so it's under the prohibited section.
Correct, yep.
Yeah,
They address that, a lot of that stuff back
Okay.
here.
That's Nantucket, right?
It's our discretion because of zone, we can.
It's zoning first,
Yeah.
yeah.
so that's-
I see the end of the tunnel.
Because even she said, the lady said, oh, it said that right on
see, we
the
have
side,
not, see,
you
we
know?
do have a local sign in there,
I got a few in there.
yeah.
Back like we did on the last.
The freestanding
that's
sign is
here
very
somewhere.
confusing to me. I thought, I couldn't figure out what was right and what was wrong.
I was looking for it, but I
Page
must have skipped.
59.
Okay, 20.
What time's the food truck come?
I hope they take cards. I don't have any cash.
We can push it back.
Okay.
Sorry,
You buying, Jack? You buying?
You
9.
bet.
Again, I think if there's an opportunity just to better display what's appropriate and what's not appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really the language under there that really describes it. Yeah, the images probably don't do it justice. It really just refers to making sure you have proper mounting hardware
Right.
that.
Right, so if we can find a sign that's appropriately mounted on Main Street, if we show that. Do we have to get the owner's permission to use it in this document?
Not yet.
I just thought of that.
By the way, if you wanted to get a local one here on this, on page 61, just go to the Colombo sign there. The
Yeah,
sign there.
that's what I was suggesting.
That one's good.
Volunteer usage of the Cape Mini Food Mart if you need a.
Thanks, Matt.
And
A vehicle-centric area. Wait in the vehicle-centric area. 51.
it's kind of confusing what's allowed on page 60. Where businesses are set back from the street, freestanding signs are allowed, and you have a freestanding sign. And then where businesses are not set back from the street, freestanding signs are discouraged. So just kind of,
I forgot the X in the corners. Is that the X and check?
You can put X and check in there, yeah.
I'm sorry, Laura, what was your point on 60?
I don't know what's,
You need just a little X on one of those pictures
yeah, maybe just an
Oh,
X
I
in
see.
there, that, fine.
on the right.
So basically, it's saying, for anyone on Main Street where it's abutting right to the sidewalk, you don't want them putting up a freestanding
Right.
pole
Right.
sign.
Right.
Whereas on Ocean Street, where these hotels are set back some,
Yeah.
that might make sense.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then on 63, the same thing, if you put a check mark and
Yep.
an X mark.
X's, right?
Did you say 52 and 53 should be X'd?
Or 53.
You just said on page
You're going
62?
backwards.
We're in the
Oh.
60s.
I'm sorry, that's why I'm looking at figure 52 and 53, and I'm like,
Fine.
Kevin asked if we could start over.
And then on 66,
Vote
where
on that first.
A-frames are
food truck coming, we might as well stay.
These A-frames are very confusing, and I was thinking if we could find a good A-frame, which we have on Main Street, that would show what we're accepting, but I find it difficult to distinguish between what's right and wrong, maybe giving an example of a bad one and a good one.
Well, there's plastic A-frames on Main Street you
Exactly.
can take a picture of.
Exactly.
Don't think we want to put bad signs on in here. I think that might, not in Hyannis at least. I can go about and find some bad signs, I'm sure.
Yeah. and then
Special mission.
have one that,
Osterville.
a good one. Yeah, using Osterville, because they actually enforce a lot of their stuff.
You're not doing a size for trade flags anymore? Or weren't they 3 by
They did.
5?
Yeah, they should be.
Yes, it is codified in zoning. If we don't have it in here, I can put it back in here.
What's page are you on?
67.
Yeah, I think it,
Something used to be 3 by 5.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Something, what was that? Something?
Something used to be 3 by 5. I don't remember what it was.
We should add the side on
Trade flags, maybe?
no more than.
What was 3 by 5? Do you remember?
it, size of the flag.
It was in the other,
Okay.
other, what is it called, guidelines.
Back on page 14. I'm just kidding.
No, Joe, she's referring to the ones that you have currently,
Yeah.
not the,
Meeting, Monday, 7?
yes, I believe so.
Bring a snack.
Karen,
Bring a snack.
Monday's meeting 7, correct?
Yep. Yes. Oh, sorry. I don't see it in the old one, but,
Like, you know, the old, like the older one.
The
Accepted ones,
the
okay.
existing
The
guidelines
existing,
that you
okay.
have today.
okay. I think it's great. Bravo, then.
Good job.
Yeah.
This took some time, but I really think it was really good time.
I do too. Sometimes things take time to get them right.
Yep.
So in terms of, if I may real quick, just in terms of these changes here, since the planning board has the ones that you have in front of you today, I can go through them if you like, or if anyone else has taken notes on suggested changes, because I'm sure we'll probably want to go through a similar action of going through kind of somewhat page by page, maybe not entirely. And then, rather than me do another track change, because the planning board wouldn't have an opportunity to really review it in
won't.
advance.
Can you put it in a different color? Put it in like green or
I
something?
could, but again, like, planning board is reviewing the ones that you guys just reviewed right now. So, I mean, I can bring all these forward at the
Right.
meeting, just to say, Historic has had a meeting, just to kind of review these, and here are some suggested changes.
It's important, we've got a lot of them that are really eliminating some things and changing
Yep.
the whole section, really.
Yep.
And the planning board could, work with you guys and say, okay, look, give us, some time to digest
Right,
this, and you could continue to another night.
Let me ask you though, is the planning board, have they, at post receiving these amended ones, have they had an opportunity, in other words, do they have changes they want to put in?
I haven't received any comments yet, no.
right.
But
I mean,
have-
they approved theirs, right? I mean, they approved it.
That's
Yeah, they have
last year,
existing ones,
yeah.
but there's a lot of changes here, so.
Yeah, yeah.
there'll be A lot of discussion, I'm
I
sure.
think they'll be happy with these, to be honest. Their chairman, Steve Costello, was actually part of the subcommittee, so they already knew what was his part of a lot of those changes. Okay, so, do we want to vote to make these changes, to put them forward to the planning, or do we need to actually go to a vote?
No vote tonight.
Okay. Okay, so just a few more things. Design guidelines, that's done. I don't think there's any matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Approval of the September 4th, 2024 draft minutes. Everyone's read them. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from September 4th.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Kevin, have you been moved up to full member yet?
Me? Not that I know of.
There's no vacancies at this
All in
time.
favor?
No, the reason I ask is he can make a motion on that when we already have 7.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Then I take back that motion?
I'll
The
second.
minutes were terrible.
No, can he, no, open meeting law, can he or not?
No, the alternates
he's eight.
don't vote on.
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, I missed that whole thing.
We have to have a redo, so why don't I say I move that we adopt the minutes?
Second for somebody? Okay.
I already got the minutes. I don't have
This
the
is the,
motion.
this is the minutes. All in favor?
My motion didn't count because
Kevin,
I'm not a permanent member.
Kevin, we have 8 members here.
Yeah, we're full.
So is my motion.
No disrespect intended.
No, but and I don't care, but I was at the meeting, so, and I know what the meeting minutes were. I think I should be able to say the meeting is correct.
anyone not at the meeting?
But I don't, huh?
Was anyone, oh, you were at this meeting?
Yeah, we had a full meeting. I mean, I don't care. I don't have to make the motion, but I'm just saying,
I thought
if the
minutes-
motion is to accept the meeting minutes, which I was a part of, it seems like I could
I
make a
thought you
motion,
could,
but whatever.
Might seem that way to someone who can't vote.
It might move that to somebody who can't vote.
All wrong.
You're in your element tonight, Commissioner Clark. All right, so on that note, I want to thank everybody for all their hard work. It's not easy because we know how important it is. I respect everybody's view. Did our town council liaison have anything he wanted to say? No?
Yeah, where's
Staff,
the door?
Thank you very much. I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Kevin can't do it.
I won't do it. We'll stay here all night.
Next
It's up to
meeting
me.
is, wait, just to remind you, we have a joint meeting scheduled for September 23rd.
Yes.
And our next meeting is October 2nd and then October 16th.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Moving the motion to adjourn.
Who's going to move the motion?
I'll
to
make the
adjourn?
motion to
Commissioner
adjourn.
Cronin. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Kay. Commissioner Carley.
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin.
Aye.
Commissioner, I am drawing a Watson. I was going to say Watson. Thank you so much. Commissioner Kay. Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
I also say aye. Commissioner Matthews.
I don't think I could vote. I'm just going to sit here.
I'm interested in your opinion.
T-shirt. Let him
Opinion is important.
I just voted.